Let's have a session on AQA Unit 3 A-Level Business. So question 1, read it, pause the video. Okay, so the answer to this is clearly C, people being one of those 3 extra or extended marketing mix. Factors being also beyond people. Of course you could have physical environment or you could have process. A, B and D are absolute waffle. So it's not those. The answer to 1 is C. Let's move on to question 2. So pause the video, try and work it out. Okay, so to answer this question, you simply need to take the 770 million in 2020 and times that by 1.05, and that should come to 808.5 million. So the answer to 2 is C. Let's move on to question 3. So pause the video, try and work out the answer. Okay, so the answer to this question is A. So A is the answer. The reason why is because we've seen that 10% increase in the price leads to a fall in quantity demanded. Increase leads to a fall. That's clearly a negative correlation. So it has to be A or B. The second part of that is the elasticity. Well, of course, you've got a 10% increase in the price and a much more dramatic fall in the quantity demanded, 35%. So clearly that's very sensitive, very elastic. So of course it has to be price elastic demand. That means the answer is A. So let's move on to question 4. Pause the video, try and work it out. Okay, so for this question, we can see that consumer incomes have increased. That's to do with income elasticity of demand. If they have increased, then you'd hope you'd have a positive income elasticity of demand. So that eliminates A and it eliminates C. So it has to be B or D. So now we need to move on to the price elasticity of demand component. And we can see that prices are increased by 10%. So if you're increasing your prices, well, you don't want to have much sensitivity in terms of your PED. So you want it to be inelastic. It's going to have to be the inelastic number, which is minus 0.5. So the answer must be inelastic price elasticity of demand and also a positive income elasticity of demand, which makes the answer D. Let's move on to the final question, question 5. So question 5, read the question, pause the video. Okay, so the 2 statements. Number 1, penetration pricing. Well, penetration pricing is, of course, when you try and keep your prices low at first and then increase them over time. So clearly the lower prices initially, well, you'd want to have a very sensitive demand to that. So you'd want it to be elastic. So statement 1 makes sense. Penetration pricing is more likely to be used if demand is sensitive, if demand is elastic. So statement 1 is true. On the other hand, statement 2, let's look at that. So price skimming is more likely to be used if demand is price inelastic. Well, price skimming is when you start with a very high price, perhaps because you have some brand loyalty, and then over time you bring the prices down. So if we're thinking about the first part of that phase, well, that indicates prices going up, higher prices. So higher prices will make sense if your consumers are not very sensitive to high prices, and they are, of course, price inelastic. So therefore, statement 2 makes sense, which means the answer is A for 5. I hope that helps. I'll see you at the next sesh.